Okay, so from the deployment slot, we just move in here. You can see add. The production deployment slot is available by default. Okay, but I can't see any slot for here, isn't it? Add slots. Let's go with app service plans. Tax club logs, resources we don't have. Yeah, you can see some sort of percentage, data in, just data out. This is now currently available. That's good for us. And if we go to app services, we have to go to this one, deployment slots. I think things have changed a bit, so just that was previously for the production, that was by default, but right now it is not yet there, so no issues. We can just create our own another slot. Staging, we can give it the name staging, no worries. Then clone settings from, do not clone settings. Okay, we can clone settings from this, but do not clone setting. Great for us. Click add to create the slot. But by default it was supposed to, but yeah, like the cloud platforms do have their own updates. Yeah, it does change. Okay, click on the staging slot, so it will be there at a success slot, and we'll click on that and we'll check, and we will check that what is there within that. Okay, so that been added yet. Okay, let's wait for a few minutes. So if we just create a new slot, staging, great. So now it has been created, the production one. Okay, that's good for Azure, because in general, like if we just by default they create the production, it is like maybe we invest, but when someone is using that, yeah, now production is by default created, and it's great. Now if we go to the staging, now if we go to staging, it is loading. Let's go, and you can check that out and click on browse in the command bar. Staging, application deploy in the staging slot. Okay, so here it is staging. If you just go press this link, no, it is not. Yeah, it is staging. You can see it is the web app, but it is in staging. Okay, so we can work with it for sure. You can see staging right now. Okay, notice the URL subdomain is web app and environment slot. Staging, in this case, this production slot is special, that there is no slot name appended. Okay, summary. In this lab, you created a deployment slot for the web app to use for staging releases. So stage it. If you know about the GitHub, etc., we take changes to stages and so on. So assume that we have our web, right? Maybe it is XYZ web app, sorry, and this is a version of that one, something related to that. So what happens is basically, now we just went into that web app, and into that we went to a deployment slot and we created one. So some changes, etc., if we want to make, we will just make it here. We will some stage those changes for these or into here, but we will not apply it to the main web app. So it just is just helpful for our whole I would say is like management and whole deployment, staging and so on, this process. Okay, let's just check it out, start check, and we have created the deployment slot and deploying a web app using deployment slot. Using the deployment slots, we can create a web app as well. Let's go and check that out. Okay, so key benefits of deployment slots are swap pre-warned websites into production. And easily roll back to previous version by repeating last swap, and it is best practice to use deployment slots when deploying web app. There are different types of swaps that you can use depending on the level of confidence you have in your release. Auto swap: as soon as an application is deployed to a slot, it automatically swaps into a target slot. So what you mean is, auto swap is as soon as an application is deployed into to a slot. Okay, auto swap: as soon as the application deployed to a slot, automatically swaps into a target slot. This is not the same as deploying directly to target, because the application gets warm start and previous release of the target slot is preserved if a rollback is required. Swap: it is the most basic swap type that requires you to manually trigger the swap operation. Swap with preview: this type is similar to regular swap but allows you to preview the swap before completing it. Because each slot maintains its own configuration application setting, the web app may not behave exactly as it did in the originating slot, and that is good thing. Okay, there are few actually confidence you have in release. You will deploy a new release to staging and swap into production. You will use a pre-built ASP.NET Core 3.1 app bundled in a zip file that is ready to deploy. For simplicity, it is better to use source control deployment method in production. App service supports deployment via GitHub, Bitbucket, Visual Studio Team Service, Dropbox, and so on. Okay, download the pre-built application. So we'll use that you will deploy to the staging slot. Okay, let me just work with that. Okay, so we have downloaded that from the staging slots app service blade. Staging slots, advanced tools in the search bar, under development, track. Okay, here we have advanced tools from this staging deployment slot. Okay, great. The advanced tools are what app service deployments are built on top of. The advanced tools engine is called Kudu. With Kudu, you can get command line access to instance hosting your web apps, view running process, install site extensions, and much more. You will only need to use the zip file to deploy functionality provided by Kudu in this lab. So we have been provided a zip file, so we can work with that. Okay, from the Kudu toolbar, click tools, then zip push deploy. Okay, we have to go here. Go to open the advanced tool interface, and from here we have to go to tools and zip push deploy. Tool, zip push deploy. Okay, great for us. In the view that appears, you can see the files that are currently being hosted on web app. The default web app is only a single .html. Okay, that's an interesting factor, but because we just have this one, right, isn't it? So just drag and drop that zip file. So let's see. Yes, it is out here. So I've just drag and drop this one. Table kickoff is okay. A small progress bar appears. So it was appearing before, but now we are currently within the zip file. 11 items, great. Now it takes approximately 10 seconds to deploy the small application. It is complete when you see deployment successful. Okay, so close the Kudu browser tab and click browse on the staging slots overview blade to navigate the web app. Okay, so we are done with it. close it. Now we are here. Now what we have to do, click browse on the staging slots overview, try to navigate to the web app. Okay, no issues. We just need to do what we have to do is we just now just delete this one. Will be in the overview. Now if you go to this link, which is basically the staging one. Okay, great. So the zip file has worked perfectly. Okay, you can see value of the test setting is under undefined, will come and build web apps with ASP.NET Core. Okay, so here you can see this is something we are going to see, and it's something. Open the staging slots environment variables. Okay, let's go and check out the environment variables. Environment variables, and in the app settings, like app settings are divided into different sections. The app settings and connection strings are always swapped by default, since the web app depends on specific framework versions and platforms work correctly. So website node default versions, show value, app service deployment slot settings. Okay, wait a second. The app settings are divided into different sections. Source environment variables, name, value, deployment slot settings. Okay, great. Connection string. Yeah, you can see app settings and connection strings. These are kind of something we have already out here. So app settings and connections are always swapped by default, since okay, under the app settings icon, click add application settings. Just add application settings. Just it's add or edit. The name should be test settings. Test settings, that's great. And we can set the value should do blue. Deployment slot setting should be checked. Great. Apply. Okay, this is something we're creating. Great. The new settings appears in table. Yeah, that's good. Click apply at the top of the blade, followed by confirm to save the apping settings. Apply, confirm. Okay, refresh the staging slot web apps homepage to see the change reflected. Okay, here, if you just come up here. Yes, you see the value of the test setting is blue. It was undefined, now it is blue, right? Interesting factor. So you see it's blue. From the deployment blade, click deployment slots and then swap. Deployment slots. Here we have swap, right? Isn't it? So and then swap, and then in the swap form enter the following values. What is the swap? Source, target, and so on. We have so many things. So source should be the staging one, destination should be the normal one, a normal web app. So yeah, it is set, the source is staging, the target is the normal web app we created, and that's good. And what we can do, perform swap with view, it should be checked with preview. Okay, so what are the things? Phase 1 changes, test settings, current value should be blue, temperature value should be not set, and phase 2 changes is net frame, version, general, old value, these and this. Okay, let's see. Phase 1 changes, not set. Here start swap. Wait. changes, staging. Okay, no worries. Swap action, and click complete swap to finish the swap. Yes, complete swap. Close the staging blade and browse to the production slots web app to confirm the swap completed. Now we just production slot. What is this production slots web app? It is basically a browse to production slots web app. Okay, so there are like basically two, like production and staging, two slots, right? And we are basically swapping that, so we'll know like gradually it happens, it will appear. So we'll just move to the production slot one and we'll just check this out. Like, okay, what is the link? Oh, it's taking some time. Okay. So this deployment slot and this is staging slot. Okay, so it's running, both running. So overview, app services. So now this is, if we just move to this one, the app is running and waiting for your content. That's good. Okay, wait a second. Just great. Oh, my bad. Should have just refreshed that. Yes. Now you see what happened. So just understand what is happening. So we basically created our app, okay, web app. It was 9, 5, 6, 7. Assume that this is something. This is basically if you just go to its deployment slot, by default there is basically in general there was like some sort of production slot. It should have been created, but it was not. But we created our own. It was like called staging, and it has some name of, it has the same name just for the same, because it just copies this one, staging. And when we were creating, there was another one which was production slot. Production slot basically refers to this, and staging slot is basically clone of this. Now we made some changes to it, right? We saw like using kudu and so on. We just made some changes. Then we said to swap. Now whatever changes we made, something for the before that, we just it is now there in the app. Okay, so here you can see it is undefined, and that was actually what was happening for the staging slot we just created. Okay, okay, you can optionally also confirm the staging slots web app is now in the default application, which should be rolled back to the repeating the swap. Keep the tab open, as we will have to refresh it in the next step. Yeah, now you see there is the interesting factor. So what we are seeing is basically the previously we did set our, this is the staging one, right? It has some sort of value. We did make some changes using kudu, but it is now something we saw for our main web app, right? Previously we just saw. Now as we just press the refresh, you can see this, because we swapped it, right? Isn't it? We just swapped it. Whatever changes we had, we just swapped it. So swap just work with like this. All of the things changed here, goes here. Now you can ask like, okay, we made some changes using kudu and something. It was just for some changes to check, okay, if it does work or not, if we can modify it or not. But we didn't save that out. So that's why it is not saved, or something like it's blue or something. You can't see that. We previously have seen the value of test setting is blue. Okay, it's not something we are going through. That's great to know, like swapping. So we did learn about what is swapping and how it do. You can see auto swap. As soon as an application is deployed to a slot, it automatically swaps. So it is auto, and it the most basic swap type that requires you to manually trigger. But to manually do that, swap with preview. So we did that, I guess, with preview. This type is similar to regular swap but allows you to preview the swap before completing it. And because this slot maintains its own configuration application setting, the web app may not behave exactly as it did. So I think we have done that. Okay, we are going into that. Now we are, I think, into our last one. Okay, so metrics. There are several facts to monitoring the web app in Azure. So you should be familiar with what is available for monitoring, so that you can use the best tool for the task at hand. Okay, so metrics. Metrics are collected for web apps and measured by server level information, such as the number of failed requests, average response time, data in, data out. You have seen metrics at work in the charts visible on the web apps overview blades. Metrics is a global service that is part of Azure Monitor, okay, and it measures data for a wide variety of Azure resources. Per minute metrics are retained for 30 hours, per hour metrics for 30 days, per day for 30 days. Okay. So diagnosis log, collect logs from your application or from a web server hosting. The level of detail of the logs can be configured. You may need to configure higher levels of details when actively debugging issues and return to a lower level of detail to reduce the amount of storage space used and associated cost and so on. And resource health, monitor your app service for Azure service issues that may be impacting your web apps. For example, service outage is or smaller scale hardware issues impacting the hardware service web app, and a lot of stuff. Service health is general service that reports broad service outages, not individual resource health. And if a complete app service outage is being experienced, service health will report the outage, but because of the outage affects the individual health of individual resources health will also be notified to you. There are a lot of things to monitor actually. So in the overview blade in the production web app, click the monitoring tab and click on one of the charts to open a metric. Okay, so this is basically a production web app. So if you go to the metrics, this is the metrics basically for this our app, web app. Metric namespace is app getting started. A lot of things, segregations, filters, plate, build, customs, and so on. Okay, so monitoring metrics. The above image shows the request metric for web app at a per minute resource for the past hour. Above the graph are several drop down menus that allow you to see metrics for resources in a different resource group and subscription. Recall that metric is a global service and do not specific to web app. This is important. Metrics is something that will show everything happening in your Azure. It is a global service, not only for web app. Like if you go to metrics, you just can see what is happening with the web app only. You will see all of the changes, what is happening to the whole your all of your like Azure services. Okay, we can do that. Click in the X beside the currently plotted metric to remove it from the chart, although we don't have any here. So it's good for us, like there is nothing out here. So in the add metric, select connections from the metric drop down menu, and great, you just go to connections and its average. Now here you can see connection average. For these it is 0 for round. Click in the check marks to confirm that your metric selection. Yes, done. So it's still 0, so we didn't make any connection. So repeat the previous procedure to add the following matrix demonstration multi. Okay, these are something we are basically using. Okay, add matrix. So for this we are using HTTP, maybe, I don't know, sure, HTTP 2xx, then it was HTTP server errors, thread count. Do have HTTP server errors and thread count, right? I think it should be count we can do, as we can see. But I don't. Okay. My bad. That's the issue we were saying. I was facing. Okay, yeah. It should be different for different thing. Okay. We can do it for the sum. Great. And create one. Create on again HTTP check status or server errors. Great. Should be again for the sum. And thread count, right? Thread. Another one. Let's check this out. Thread count. It should be average. Great. So now you can see there are some changes, like there are this connection. If you just hover over this, you can see it's like currently 0. HTTP 2xx, it is 0. Server it's 0 as well, but thread count is something is changing. And what is this blue or this one? HTTP 2x it was 0, but it just changed. From here you can see it's like from here you just see this in the time. So here you can see this is basically time, right? June 30, 6 a.m, 12 UTC, something. So these are the numbers and this is the time, exactly in what time it would just appear or something. So you can use the metrics to look into that. As long as metrics share the same units, they can be plotted on the same chart. So same unit, that means date and the number. So we can plot it in the same chart. Our selected metrics are simply numbers without units and can be plotted together. You can adjust the title, subtitle, chart type, time range for your metric charts and click save to dashboard to save them and make them easily accessible on the portal dashboard. You can also add an alert based on the metrics. Surely, like if something crosses over this, just alert, do let me know, and yeah, you can do. Close the metric blade. Okay, we just close the metric. We're just out of that and scroll down to the sidebar menu and select monitoring and app service logs. I can just do from here monitoring, and then we're into monitoring, right? App service logs. Oh, we can do it from here. Okay, service cells, right? Within the monitoring. Scroll down to the sidebar and select monitoring. My bad. So we should have been into the it should not be into the global monitoring. It should be into the apps, this one. And now if we go to monitoring, app service logs, aren't we go for the app service logs? Yes. Okay, into the app service logs blade has settings to enable different types of loggings. Off. It is basically, it is mouse over each information bubble to learn the distinction between each type of logging. There are also FTP and FTPS connection. So yeah, we can just this, and you can enable application logging to collect diagnosis traces from your web app code. You will need to turn this on to enable the streaming log feature. Blob, collect in the blob container, and logging, gather diagnosis information for your web server, gather detailed error message from your web app, gather diagnosis information on failed requests. Okay, note that if the click here to install the suite report site extension to enable banner displays, click on the we haven't gone through that. Set the following values. Application login should be on, level should be verbose. on, label should be verbose. Okay, and web server logging should be file system and quota 35. Web server login, file system, quota is 35 MB, and retention period should be 0. 0 means I end. Okay. 0 days. Great. Click save. Click log stream under overview. Click save. Swipe to save. Click log stream under overview. Go to the overview. Is it? Status, default, operating plan, web app hosting, deployment center, view logs. Okay, let me check. Oh, click log stream under overview in the sidebar to view the application. Okay, not this one. Yeah, log stream. Okay.